Debt colonialism. Is China trying to buy out Africa's resources? Why is China, a country with over 100 million people who are still living below the poverty line, playing at being a flashy big spender? How can such wanton generosity be allowed? Law professor, Zhangrun. China has just offered Africa another $60 billion for emerging economic development, but is this a sleight of hand aimed at funneling out the continent's resources, or is it a sincere gesture of assistance? South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has vehemently denied accusations insinuating Chinese neo-colonialism taking root in Africa. Even Chinese President Xi Jinping rebuked the notion of ulterior motives, telling African leaders his country's investments in the continent have no political strings attached. China in South Africa. This may be so, but the question needs to be asked: what does China hope to gain from these costly investments in Africa? In August, China pledged $196 billion to South Africa during the 10th annual BRICS summit, which was held in Johannesburg. A portion of these funds is set to assist embattled state-owned enterprises, Eskom and Transnet. While foreign investment in South Africa is surely appreciated, especially considering Ramaphosa's target of $100 billion, questions regarding the payback have not gone unnoticed. Leader of the Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane, has requested the president to disclose conditions on the loan agreement before Parliament, saying, if the president is confident that the agreement is in the best interest of the South African people, he will surely accede to our request. It is difficult to imagine that the Chinese Development Bank approved our $33 billion loan to Eskom with no strings attached. Eskom is in dire financial straits and made our $2.3 billion loss in the last financial year. Is China practicing debt colonialism? Maimane isn't the only one skeptical of China's liberal distribution of loans to African countries. Speaking to the Los Angeles Times, http://www.latims.com/world/law/FG China Africa 20,180,903 story.html Tsinghua University law professor, Zhangrun, asks some pertinent questions. Why is China, a country with over 100 million people who are still living below the poverty line, playing at being the flashy big spender? How can such wanton generosity be allowed? The latest loan agreements were tabled at China-Africa Summit. Besides the multi-billion-dollar investments, Jinping added that some outstanding debts afflicting poorer nations would be scrapped. But according to economic analysts, China's never-ending loans could lead Africa down a slippery slope of unpayable debt. In the last 18 years, China has pumped more than $124 billion into Africa, while the International Monetary Fund has warned of increasing debt distress in 15 African countries. Nations unable to pay China back. So, what happens when African nations inevitably default on their repayments to China? Let's take a look at the Belt and Road Project. Spearheaded by China, the initiative aims at growing connectivity and cooperation between other countries. This multinational scam is aimed at addressing an infrastructure gap by investing and loaning huge sums of money to partner countries. But it seems China's new Silk Road https://www.moneycontrol.com/news/world/China's Silk Road project runs into debt jam 2908971.html has run into problems surrounding mounting debt and cries of neo-colonialism. In August of this year, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad abruptly cancelled China-funded projects, stating, "We do not want a situation where there is a new version of colonialism happening because poor countries are unable to compete with rich countries." Unfortunately, poorer countries are often too eager to get their hands on the money. Take Sri Lanka for example. The nation snapped up a Chinese loan which has now resulted in debt exceeding $13 billion. Unable to settle its ever-growing debt, thanks to burgeoning inflation rates, the small island nation was, in effect, forced to sell Hambantota Port to the Chinese. The port, which was constructed by the Chinese, with the use of Chinese funds and labor, is now a Chinese-controlled naval base on foreign soil. But Sri Lanka isn't the only nation to have surrendered a portion of its sovereignty. China has helped finance at least 35 ports around the world in the past decade, with 14 of those constructed on African shores. The list of nations burdened under the weight of Chinese loans continues to grow. Pakistan, Djibouti, Maldives, Mongolia, Laos, Montenegro, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan are all struggling to repay loans, with the Center for Global Development referring to the situation as unsustainable. Debt trap diplomacy. While many African leaders have rubbished claims of debt colonialism as nothing more than a scare tactic aimed at harming African-Chinese interactions, Ali Khan Sachu, an economic analyst based in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, told Al Jazeera the concerns over debt trap diplomacy were real. Sachu warned that debts were spiraling out of control, saying, "There are worries that this infrastructure has been inflated in price, and that it is highly unlikely to make a return on investments that is necessary for these countries to get in order to pay back the debt." The future of China-Africa relations is going to depend entirely on how China manages this debt situation, which is now spiraling out of control. China denies indebting African countries. Hua Chunying, China's foreign ministry spokeswoman, vehemently denies accusations of debt colonialism, saying, "I can't help but wonder why the money is money pie when it is offered by the Western countries but money trap when offered by China? Isn't it a glaring double standard? By funding infrastructure and other areas that lag behind for a shortage of money, we have helped the relevant countries break bottlenecks, enhance their capacity for independent development, realize social and economic sustainable development, and improve people's livelihoods."
If you feel good, please support the author by subscribing to Daily News to track the next video every day.